COM, and C#. Communicating with COM. One of the most likely interop scenarios is communicating from .NET to existing COM components. This can allow preservation of existing infrastructure and reduction in overall development cost. COM components may be called via either early or late binding. Via early binding, legacy COM components can be made to appear as managed objects in the .NET environment. This is accomplished by a utility that reads an existing type library and creates a proxy for the .NET component to interact with. Early bound components are those that are bound at compile time. This promotes type safety and improves the program's overall performance. Early bound COM component calls. Select File, New, and then the project. When the project window pops up, select ATL project and name it COM obj.dll. The IDE will build a skeleton with many files. From the Solution Explorer window, right-click, select Add Class. When the wizard pops up, select ATL control and name the component com4.net. This creates a class named ccom4.net and an interface named icom4.net. After the ccom4.net class has been created, go to the Class View window and right-click the icom4.net interface. Select Add Method. When the wizard pops up, name the method GetResponseFromCom with no parameters. Go to the ccom4.net class, where the GetResponseFromCom open close brackets method shell is defined and add the contents. This completes creation of the COM component necessary for this example. The .NET framework to create a proxy for the COM component. Output: Hello from COM. The proxy is then compiled into the C# program. The COM component can be instantiated and called just like any other managed component. Late-bound COM component calls. When a type library isn't available, there's a dynamic invocation requirement. C# program can perform a late-bound call to a COM component. Late-bound COM component invocations are performed using C# reflection. It first obtains prog ID from the COM object as listed in the Windows registry. When a type object is obtained, an object is created using the static createInstance method of the activator class. The GetResponseFromCom method of the COM component is then invoked with the InvokeMember method of the type object late-bound type. Exposing a .NET component as a COM component. A C# component exposed as a COM component. Call from com.dll. C# components are accessible as COM components. The .NET Framework tools create an unmanaged proxy. Apply proper settings in the registry. This enables unmanaged code to use .NET components as if they were COM components. This command line registers the C# library as a COM component. In addition, the /TLB operation creates a type library to facilitate early binding. To generate a type library without registering the library, use the TLB exp program as shown in the following command line. Calling a C# component exposed as a COM component. AVB program calling a C# COM component. A message box showing the response from a C# COM component. Introduction to .NET support for COM plus services. The .NET framework provides extensive support for COM plus services such as transactions, JIT activation, object pooling, and others. COM plus services are activated through the use of attributes which decorate a specific C# element as appropriate. These attributes are analogous to the COM plus concepts. The other step necessary to make the C# program work as a COM plus service is to register it. The application name attribute identifies the COM plus name, and the assembly key file attribute specifies a strong name key to register the assembly with. Following command line shows how to create a strong name key. Transactions. A transaction is a way to combine multiple actions into a single body of work to guarantee that all actions either succeed or fail together. C# program can participate in COM plus services transactions by inheriting from the COM plus services class and marking their classes with a transaction attribute. Another transaction-related attribute is autocomplete, which enables a transaction to commit automatically if all items succeed. However, if an exception is raised, autocomplete causes the transaction to abort. JIT activation. Just-in-time JIT activation is the capability to instantiate a new component. Components go away automatically when they are no longer needed. By using COM plus services and associated attributes, a C# component can participate in a JIT activation. Implementing JIT activation requires specifying the just-in-time activation attribute. JIT activation is true by default, but if you want to turn it off, specify false as a first attribute parameter. Object pooling. Another COM plus service enabling efficient use of resources is object pooling. An object pool is a group of components that stay activated and ready for connection at all times. This reduces the overhead associated with the activation and deactivation of components. The object pooling attribute has three parameters: enabled, min pool size, and max pool size. The enabled parameter turns object pooling on. The min pool size parameter specifies the minimum number of objects held in the pool, and the max pool size parameter specifies the maximum number of objects to be held in the pool. Other services. COM plus services include several other technologies such as roles, security, and message queuing. Using the techniques described in other sections and examining the applicable attributes in the system.enterprise services namespace. C# and COM plus services security are mutually exclusive.